welcome back to the studio. And thank you for joining me for another episode of Throwback Thursday. So, for this Thursday, I am going to be using the Amazing Life bundle. This bundle is the Photopolymer Amazing Life stamp set. So, you have lots of greetings with some mixed fonts in them, and then and then of course you got some nice images. So this is one of those stamp sets that you can use for a whole bunch of different occasions. And then bundled with this was the rectangle stitch dies. Now the dies, they did carry over and they have been available for quite a while, and they did recently retire. But these set of dies, very, very versatile. You have different sizes, and then they have the double stitching. So when you die cut something out, you not only had the stitching on the die cut piece, but then if you were creating um, for your background piece where you wanted to cut out the shape, you also had the stitching on the outer part too of what you wanted to leave. So you could use these like either way. So this is what I will be using for our projects. So let me bring in the pieces for my first card. So I have a piece of Flirty Flamingo. This measures 8.5 by 5.5. I've scored it at 4.25. And then out of some scraps, I have die cut with one of those stitched rectangle dies, a piece of Highland heather. And then with another size die, I cut out a scrap of basic white. And then with another one of the dies in that set, a scrap piece, scrap piece of basic white. This is going to be for our greeting. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to fold and burnish my card base. And I'll burnish that. And then I'm going to take this piece of Highland Heather and my adhesive, add some on here. And then I'm going to take this. Now I'm not going to put it on here straight. I'm going to put it at an angle. So I'm just looking at the distance from this corner to the bottom and also this corner to the top, and then looking at how much space there also is from this corner to the left side and on the same with the opposite corner. So it's basically centered on this card base. All right, then I'm going to set that aside. Let me bring in these pieces because we're going to be doing some stamping with these. I'm going to close up my seal. I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Pierce mat. Now, my surface, I do have a silicone sheet that's underneath this on this tabletop. So I do have a little bit of that cushion when I'm using my photopolymer stamps, but I'm going to give it just a little bit more here. And so I'm going to pull out the stamps that I'm going to be using for this project. So this one's going to be a birthday card. And we need, let's see, one more thing. And I think that's all we need for this one. So let me get my blocks and put these on here. So I have decided that when I do my pre-recorded videos that I'm going to do them as unlisted lives, and then after I do the live, I'm going to add all my descriptive stuff and create my thumbnail and then upload and schedule it, instead of doing it like I've done in the past where I've recorded individual video clips and I've added my opening and closing credits and the sped up for sections of the video. This is a little bit easier. It doesn't take as much time. When I do the other ones, uploading and getting it all together, it does take quite a while. So I decided to kind of streamline this and make it go a little bit quicker by doing it this way. Because once I record this as a private live or an unlisted live, it is what it is. There's nothing I have to go back in and change it all up. So this is going to probably most likely be the new way I'm going to do it. Now, I am going to miss adding the music and all that, but I will figure out some way, because there is a way to add all that stuff to a live video, because I've seen others do it. So I just need to figure that out. Okay, so now back to the card. So for my greeting, I'm going to bring in my Highland Heather ink. And I'm going to ink up this happy birthday greeting. And this is going to fit perfectly right into this die cut here. Okay. And then that's all I'm going to use with this ink pad. And then I'm going to bring in Life's Too Short to Say No to Cake, and then my cake image. And I'm going to ink this up in my Memento Tuxedo Black ink. Ink that up really well. And then I'm going to put this over to the left and in the middle. And I'm going to bring this down a little bit so I can see where I'm placing this. Okay, I'm going to hold that there for a moment so the ink will transfer to the paper, or to the cardstock actually. Okay, and then I'm going to use the same ink. I'm going to ink up this birthday cake, and I'm going to stamp this right over here to the right hand side. Okay, then I'm going to put these over here, and I'm going to bring in a scrap piece of paper, and this is one that I've used to do a little bit of stamping on. Now, the reason why I'm doing this, I'm going to be coloring the cake and the actual cake, except the word cake and the cake itself, with my Stampin' Blends. And I want to kind of stick with the same colors. So I have my light and dark Highland Heather and my light and dark Flirty Flamingo. And let me put aside that greeting. And while I'm letting this ink dry a little bit, when you're using your alcohol markers, you definitely want to use a water-based ink. So you can use the Memento ink, or you can also use our ink pads too, because they are all water-based. And that's what you want to use when you're using the alcohol markers. But what you do want to do is, once you stamp, you do want your ink to dry before you then color over it, so that way you don't smear any of that ink. So what I'm going to do a little bit of a gradient color on the word cake and on the cake itself too. So I'm going to start off with my dark Highland Heather, and I'm going to add some color. Now what I'm doing is, out of the 4 colors, I want to have space on these words that I can use all 4 colors to do the gradient on these letters. And because the space is kind of small, I want to try and not go crazy on adding the ink. I want to kind of do a light touch. Then I'm also going to do the cake as well. So I'm going to add just a couple of strokes of this dark color. So, and then I'm going to bring in my light Highland tether, and let me see how this tip is. Okay, the tip is okay. Some of these I've had for a while, so they've lasted quite a while. I don't use them every single time, but sometimes if you, especially like if you're coloring ribbon, even though you would use the side of your brush tip, at some point these brush tips will end up fraying. Okay, and then let's do the C. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at these other letters and trying to keep it even with those. And you can see I'm getting a little bit of ink that's right outside of the stamp line. Okay, so I'm going to add some of the light Highland heather to this cake. Okay. Actually, I'm going to need the dark again. And then I'm going to bring in the dark Flirty Flamingo. And we'll add some of this to here. Okay, and then we'll add some to the cake. All right, and then let me bring in my light and we'll fill in the top of our letters. And then the top part of our cake. All right, and then what I'm going to do is take my darker shades of each of the colors, and the candle has these little stripes on it, so I'm going to very lightly take my marker tip to those spots and just do a light touch so that way the ink doesn't bleed out excuse me, bleed outside of the lines. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the dark. Kind of like fill that in like so. And then in the excuse me, of course you do a video and then your voice wants to go crazy. Then I got my light Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to do the candle flame with that. Okay, so now let's go ahead and assemble our card. So let me bring this all in. So on the back of both of these pieces, I'm going to bring in my dimensionals. And so on my greeting, I'm going to put 3 on here. And these just fit. Like so. And I'll remove these paper backings. Set that aside. We'll put that on after I put our colored image. And I'm going to add some dimensionals to this. I'm trying not picking that up. Okay. All right, and now I'm going to bring my card in. Now this is where it's a little crazy to try to line this up straight because you have this piece that's at an angle. So I'm going to come in with this, and I'm going to just really focus on the top and bottom edges, well, all of the edges, and the Flirty Flamingo card base. And I'm going to try and get this in here straight and even within this Highland heather. And then my greeting, I'm going to add that right down here. Okay, and then for my embellishments on this one, I am going to use the Iridescent Rhinestones Basic Jewels. Now, these retired with our last annual catalog, and I had bought a good number of packages of this. Now, at one point, I didn't think to check before I came on here. I think I could probably do this while I am on here. I'm going to bring up the website because they recently, Stampin' Up! Had recently updated the clearance rack. And let me see here, under specials. And they did have these in there. I'm just not 100% sure if they're still available. And that's what I'm taking a quick peek to see if we still have them or not. There's still quite a bit in here. So if you were a fan of the in colors of from last year, there's still blends and some cardstock in there. Yes, these iridescent rhinestones basic jewels, when we had these in the catalog, they were $7.50. They are still in the clearance rack as the time of me taping this. I am recording this on Tuesday, October 15th. Of course, you'll be starting to view this on Thursday, the 17th. They are still in the clearance rack, and they have been marked down to $3 a package. So it's a really great price for them. And again, there's still a whole lot of things that are in the clearance rack. So I will have a link down in the description of this video that will take you to my online store, and you can check it out there. Okay. So with these, now what's nice about these, they're translucent. So they have the iridescence. So when you put them on something that's colored, it takes on the color behind them. So this is also really nice when you use it on designer series paper as well. So I'm going to add one here, and you can see it looks like it's like an iridescent Highland heather, which I really, these I was a huge, well, I still am a huge fan of these embellishments. I'm going to add one there and then a smaller one right up there. So there is, hold on one moment. I'm just trying to get these out of the way so things don't get too cluttered up here. So there is the first card. So now let me bring in the stuff for my next card. So for this card, again, we're going to be doing some coloring. Now there's some stuff that I did do ahead of time. Now in the past when I've done my pre-recorded stuff, again, I would do separate video clips. So typically there would be 3 video clips per card. So there would be the first part, then there'd be the part where I would do any die cutting, embossing, coloring, you know, the tedious stuff that could add a lot of time to a video. And this time, since I'm not doing that, I have gone ahead and I have taken care of doing my embossing and die cutting and all that kind of stuff ahead of time. So for this one, I have a piece of basic white thick. This measures 8.5 by 5.5. I've scored it at 4 1/4. I have a piece of Coastal Cabana. This measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Yeah, 5 3/8. And ahead of time, I had embossed it using the dot to dot textured impressions embossing folder. So this is a regular type of embossing folder. This isn't one of the 3D ones. Okay, so that I took care of that ahead of time. And then out of a scrap of Night of Navy, I had die cut this stitched rectangle. And then out of a scrap of basic white, I die cut this one as well. So for this, I'm going to fold and burnish my card base. And then I'm going to take some adhesive. I'm going to add it on the back of this Coastal Cabana piece. And I'm going to be kind of careful as I do this, because when you use this adhesive on something that you have embossed, if you go too hard, you know, on pressing this adhesive on here, you could tear the cardstock, and we don't want to do that. Okay, so then I'm going to bring in my card base, and I'm going to center this. So there's only going to be a little white border all the way around this embossed piece. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. And along with that Night and Navy piece, now on this one here, I'm going to bring in my piercing mat again. And let me get the stamp that I'm going to use for this one. So this one I'm going to use So Happy to Have You in My Life. So this is a larger image. So let me get my larger block for it. And then for this one, I'm going to stamp it in my Night of Navy ink. Okay, and then I'm going to stamp this like in the middle, but more towards the top. Looks like I could have gotten a little bit more ink around the A and the P. It's not bad. Yeah, it looks okay. It doesn't, when looking through the stamp, it looked like it was a lot lighter. Now, this did stamp really, really dark, but as it dries, it will lighten up a little bit more. So right now, it looks like I use black ink, but it'll show more blue as it dries. So I'm going to clean my stamp really quick, so we're giving that image a moment to dry before I color it in. Okay, still got some ink on there. Okay. All right, so I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'm going to bring in this scrap paper again since we're going to be coloring it. Now I'm just kind of, air drying this a little bit, but I'm doing it off the camera because it'll probably make the camera focus go a little crazy. So, all right. So then for this one, I'm going to use my light and dark Granny Apple Green, and I'm going to be focusing on the word happy. So I'm not going to use that tip because you can see this tip looks really, really frayed. So I'm going to use the bullet tip on this one. All right, and I'm going to do the bottom half of my letters. Now, with a lot of the videos that I have already done with the pre-recorded stuff, um, when I did the thumbnails for them, I just basically took a picture of those projects, and then just basically that was the image that was for the thumbnail. And so I decided to kind of clean up the videos that I have out there right now and try to do something that was a little consistent. So as of right now, now this was the dark, I'm going to use the light to then kind of blend in and do the rest of those letters. So what I have done, I had decided to create graphics that are very, very similar to my Friday Night Lives. So all of my Friday Night Lives kind of have that blue and purple galaxy background to it. And then of course it has the picture of me in the one corner, the picture of the projects, and then basically saying, it's Friday Night Live, and then featuring whatever product it is that I'm using. So for my Throwback Thursdays, I decided, okay, all of those are going to have like this dark wood paneling type of background, but it's going to have the same exact layout as my Friday Night Lives. And then all of my paper pumpkins, they're going to have like this coral type of background, very similar to the color of the paper pumpkin boxes. And then for the holiday ones, I look for graphics that will tie in with that holiday. So for example, 4th of July, the background that I have at the moment is a flag. And then I have, like, for Mother's Day, there's some flowers. And, so I'm going to go with what will go with that holiday. And so I've done that so far with my more recent videos. Oh, well, basically anything that was from about the middle of June to current. When I first started doing all these videos last year, I was uploading everything to my desktop computer. Now the desktop computer is kind of old and it's still running Windows 7 on it. So back in June, I did get a new laptop, and I just recently, this past weekend, get all of those video clips and everything that I had already done and moved them all over to my laptop so they're all together. So I'm still in the process of cleaning up all of those, you know, early videos that I've done. So stay tuned on that. I decided to do that so if you were looking for specific videos, you would be able to easily find them basically just by seeing the background for that thumbnail. Okay, so for this piece here, I'm going to take this, add some adhesive to it, and then I'm going to put that centered on my piece of Night of Navy. So what's nice about these dies is that you can get a nice border. Since they're like a nesting type of die, you can create a frame for another piece there. Okay, and then the other thing I'm going to bring in, so I have some ribbon. I'm going to bring in some Scotch tape as well. So this is the Coastal Cabana and Granny Apple Green reversible ribbon. So what's really cool about this ribbon, one side is Granny Apple Green, the other side is Coastal Cabana, and along the edges you can see the Granny Apple Green and the Coastal Cabana stitched on the edges there. So I'm going to take a piece of this, and let me get my scissors, and I'm going to cut a piece, and then I'm going to cut another little piece as well. Okay. And then I have a little pin here to kind of keep it all together so it doesn't unwind. And I'm going to take this ribbon and I'm going to wrap it around this piece. And I'm going to use my Scotch tape to hold this down. So I'm going to take this and add this about here. Press that down. And then let me get another piece here. So we're going to make this even. Okay, and then I'll add this piece of tape over here. I find that if I do it this way, instead of just wrapping it and then tying it into a knot, there'll be a little less bulk on the front of this card. So I'm just going to press down this tape so that way it really holds this ribbon down. And then I'm going to take this little piece here and I'm going to tie it into a knot, and hopefully I have done this long enough, which I don't think I've done that. I thought I can do it, but evidently not. Not. So I'm going to take this and tie it in a knot, and I'm going to have the Granny Apple Green side facing up. Like so. And then I'm going to take my scissors. I'm going to cut these ends at an angle. And then this side as well. Okay. And then I'm going to bring in my glue dots. I don't know what I'm going to do with that little piece, but of course this is retired ribbon and I really like this ribbon, so of course, you know, you gotta keep as much as you can of it, right? Okay, so let me put this tape away. And then I'll close this up since we're done with this right now. Now I'm going to bring in my glue dots. And what I do with my bows typically, because of the knot, I'm going to add a glue dot on this side of the knot and on this side, and then one behind the knot as well. And this is just a little bit of extra adhesive to hold this ribbon down onto that other piece of ribbon. Okay. And then I'm going to place this, oops, right here. Kind of press that down so that way that's going to stay. That's not going to come off. Then I'm going to take some dimensionals, add it to the back of this panel here. I don't want it to be all saggy in the middle, so I'm going to add a few extra there into the center part. Okay, and then I'm going to take this and I'm going to center that right here onto my card base. Okay, and then the embellishments that I'm going to use for this one, these are the glitter enamel dots. So we have Gorgeous Grape, Melon Mambo, Granny Apple Green, and Coastal Cabana. So since I have a lot of Coastal Cabana on here, I'm going to use my Granny Apple Green ones. And I'm going to take this, so there's 4 different sizes in here. So I'm going to use the 3 larger sizes. And I'm just going to place those right next to each other, right above my ribbon. Like so. Move it up just a little bit. Okay. So let me close this up. Move a few things out of the way, and I will show you the 2 projects. Well, this one and then the one we just completed a little bit ago. Just wind this up. Okay, so here is the second card. Really love the combination of the Night of Navy, Coastal Cabana, and the Granny Apple Green together. So let me bring in the first one that we've done. So here we've used the Flirty Flamingo and the Highland Heather. So this would make a perfect birthday card for a girl. And then we have this So Happy to Have You in My Life card. So these are the 2 projects that we have made today for my Throwback Thursday using the Amazing Life bundle. Again, it's the Amazing Life stamp set and the rectangle stitched dies. If you like the projects that I have made for this episode, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. It not only helps in growing this channel and YouTube putting my videos out there for others to see. So it helps in that way. And then it also helps me in building my Stampin' Up! Business as well. Every little thing helps, whether it's liking, commenting, sharing, all of that it helps. So I thank you for joining me, and be sure to join me tomorrow night, Friday, 15th, 16th, the 18th. Yeah. When you do things ahead of time, you got to remember what day you're on. So on Friday the 18th, which is tomorrow night at 7 p.m., I will be going live using the Splendid Autumn. Uh, okay, am I still live? I don't know if I'm still live. Okay, I want to make sure I'm still live here, guys. I'm not seeing me here. I went to click my mouse, and so I don't know if I'm still live. But it says that I'm still live, so I'm going to keep on going. So sorry about that. So what I was saying, just in case if I accidentally pause things or whatever, I don't know. So I apologize for repeating myself. Um, so I will be going again, what I was saying, if you like the projects, please give the video a thumbs up. Um, comments, likes, shares, all of that does help me in growing my YouTube channel. It does help if YouTube does put my videos out there. So, some new people will find my channel and watch the content that I have put out and what I'll continue to put out. And also, it helps me in growing my Stampin' Up! Business as well. Again, I will have a link to my online store in the description if you're interested in getting the iridescent rhinestone gems that I used on this card that are currently in the clearance rack for $3. Also, I made mention that tomorrow, Friday, the 18th, October 18th, I will be going live right here at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I will be featuring the Splendid Autumn suite of products that are in the current holiday mini catalog. So I hope that you will be able to join me then. So until then, everyone, be safe and have a blessed one. Bye bye.